everyone, just doing my last blog for a little while. I'm just about to start uni again next week, and I just thought I would catch you up with everything that's been going on. I had a very big January process, and I just had lots of work doing a mural. I'll put a photo up of the completed panels of the mural at the end of this particular blog, because it's just such a big project. So I did 3 panels on the wall of a cafeteria at Clubhouse, where I teach art each week and do some art therapy with my members. And I also each panel was like 3 meters tall and 1 meter wide, so the total completed mural is actually roughly around 3 by 3 meters. The roof gently slopes, so it kind of is a little bit different to that, but not really significant. And oh my goodness, it was hard work, a lot of hard work over 2 months, but it was just gorgeous to actually finish it. And there's scope there for other members to add extra things as we have time. At the moment we're doing paintings for an upcoming exhibition, so we're very excited about that. It takes a while to build up a body of work for an art exhibition, and we're gradually moving along into that space. I'm loving these new glasses. So they're from Wylie, and I don't get paid to advertise them at all, but I'm just in love with them. They're a champagne acrylic cat's eye glass, and I thought to myself, well, I'll just get my eyes checked before I go to university this year, because I do so much reading, so much writing at my computer, that I just need to make sure that my eyes can cope with it. And my prescription had changed a little bit, so that justified me getting a new pair of frames. And this year I just opted to get the single pair of frames so that I could really get the frames that I love. They're so gorgeous, and they go with everything, so it doesn't matter what I wear. I normally go for a really bright frame, but these ones just appealed to me because they framed my face really well, and I'm able to just wear them with everything. And then I've got the one set of glasses, good strong case, and I can look after them, and hopefully I won't lose them. Cross my fingers. It's been really hot here in Australia. Oh my goodness, it's been so hot. Today is the 2nd day of a cool change that's come through, and it's still warm, like it's 25 degrees in Brisbane at the moment. And I've just literally, it's so glary out there that I've literally had to put my blinds down in my studio and put my lights on, because the glare that was coming in was just phenomenal. But this week I've been printing out all my readings for uni and binding them into these huge books, right? This is weeks 1 to 4. So we'll just give you an idea. Weeks 1 to 4 of one of my electives units that I'm doing, which is psychotherapy with people with disabilities. And I'm like, art psychotherapy with people with disabilities. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got 4 subjects this trimester and 4 subjects again next trimester, and I am so wondering how that's going to play out. Really wondering how that's going to play out. So I'm just like, oh my goodness. But I have this fabulous group of friends that help to support me through this, and they read my essays for me. And my friend Kate, she lives with a disability and is so articulate and wonderful at being able to talk to me about the issues that affect people with disabilities, of which, I mean, I work with people with disabilities, but I think it's so important to actually find out from people that live with a disability every day and see how all the different parts of their lives that it impacts. So I find that that is going to be a really interesting subject for me to do this semester, as well as, you know, mental health, well-being and distress. And we're looking at groups, and we're looking at creativity and mental health. And so it's really having a look at the different client populations that I work with currently, and then want to expand to work with, and then having a look at how that then's going to inform my practice moving forward. But I just have been enjoying reconnecting with friends, having some time off, restarting work, and having a look at an amazing group of young people that are doing art that I'm mentoring and teaching at the moment. And it's just been a really kind of inspiring time. I've been decorating some of my journals for uni that hold a dual purpose. So those that follow me on social media, you'll see some of the journals that I've been decorating lately, and those are for classes that are coming up at Tammy's Art Studio in the Easter school holidays. Not that I have a lot of time during that time, it's a bit weird, but I have a lot of essays to write during that time as well. So I will be very strictly looking at how many workshops I can actually fit in, and also how many days I have available during that time to do essays. So I will also be looking at, you know, what commitments I can do, or whether I can just take a day off here and there. But we'll see. I know that around the Easter break that I'm going to be able to start looking at planning essays and doing my research work for that, and so be really kind of ruthlessly, I call it being ruthlessly organized, because I won't get through it all, and I'll probably get into a sense of overwhelm while I'm doing that. So I have to make sure that I can get all of those things looking great, you know, all my ducks in a row, I guess. And if I don't, then I have to be kind to myself and look at what is required to get extensions in that time period, because just having an increased study load is not a valid excuse for an extension. So we have to have a look at how I'm organising my life at that time, and what that kind of looks like, and what the next subjects will be. And it's a really exciting time, I think. So I just think too that if you, like most of you, will be back into work if that's what you're doing. If that's not what you're doing, then, and you're taking, say, art courses, if you signed up for art journaling things, or you're looking at all different aspects of your creative journey at the moment, then have a look at the way that you pace yourself. I know that I'm one of those people that loves to jump in with both feet and really apply myself really sometimes, I guess, rigidly. It's one of my strengths, but then also can sabotage my life if I do it too rigidly, you know. And where I look at how wide my responsibilities are, and what I can say yes to and what I can say no to. I also want to make a shout out to Women & Co. I do some art therapy workshops there, which are winding up for this year, because they've changed the focus of their organisation and how they work in a community forum space. But also too, I do an art journal club there once a month, and the first one for those is next week, and it's on the 20th of February. And I'm doing it on the third Wednesday of every month, which is a really cool service that I offer. It's $10 if you want to come, and you don't have to have any materials for your first class, but I always have a chat to you about getting your own journal, working in that journal, the kind of paper that we look at for mixed media work and art journaling work, because, you know, a regular spiral bound journal is great for some things, but not great for most things in mixed media, because we do lots of layers, we use lots of water-based media, and cartridge paper and water-based media just don't work great together all the time. They buckle and they're a bit thin. And if we're doing lots of layers, but then by the same thing, they can be good for collage, but again they can buckle with the water content in the glue. So you've just got to have a really good look at how that works for you in your journals. Now I know I use cheap kind of journals for my art therapy studies and work because I go through so many of them. There's no point in me, and I do a lot of writing in them as well as collage work and paint work and stuff. And look, to be honest with you, if I'm going to be doing some heavy base paint work, then I'll make sure that I do it somewhere and then I glue it in, or I have a bigger folio that I put my bigger work in. And so sometimes I think it's about finding out what the size is that you want to work to, and also to the thickness of the paper. And so for mixed media work, I would generally say nothing less than 220, but I often recommend 300, sometimes 330, depending on the work and how wet and messy you get. And also too, I would look at having the versatility of a mixed media paper that is sized like watercolor paper, because it's usually a little bit cheaper, and also what the paper is made out of. So I have preferred to do a cotton, 100% cotton rag mixed media paper, which is obviously more expensive, but then it does not rust. My artwork will survive for a much longer period. But for demos, I'll use cartridge paper if I'm just doing a demo, and you know, it may get a bit used and abused and not finished and things like that. But then also too, for my own personal mixed media work, I use a combination of cans and papers. Generally they seem to have a really good foothold for, you know, specifically design mixed media work. But then I also have a big suite of all different kinds of papers for acrylic canvas work, for pastel work, for water media work that I use. I love Fabriano and Arches papers. And then there's specific drawing papers that I use when I'm doing mandala work. Cartridge papers work very well for that, or alcohol markers where I use blending pads. So I guess when you're looking at your mixed media journey and the projects that you're doing, think about the paper that you're using. The substrate, I think, you should always use the best that you can afford, and if you're just starting out, well, then use the best that you can afford. But as you go on, you'll understand the difference between really good quality papers and less quality student papers. And I think that that's a really important thing to note, that I always go under the premise for mixed media work or any art work in general, is that buy the best that you can afford and don't think that you have to have everything. You know, shop around and have a look at, if you're going to go for acrylic inks, don't buy 3 different types and color palettes of acrylic inks. Find which brand you really like, all the colors in that brand that you really like, and buy those, and have one set of acrylic inks if that's the way that you go, or start in your favorite colors or those that you use most. You know, my favorite colors may be not that which I do portraiture work with, but I often like to use my acrylic inks in any kind of work that I do. And I have my go-to fun colors, and then I have my portraiture tones, and so they're equally important for different reasons. And then I can make them into acrylic sprays. So do I then need to go out and buy sprays? No, I can use acrylic sprays, and then if you do acrylic ink sprays, then they dry permanent, and they are more bulletproof for your projects, and you know, easier to work with. And so it's about thinking about, well, if I get a set of color pencils, what kind of color pencils, what do I want them to do? If I want to blend them really well, if I want to have a nice soft waxy kind of pencil, then that's really important to kind of look at that brand. If I want to do more serious pencil work, what kind of brand do I want? Do I want the Caran d'Ache, which is the only light fast, you know, pencil set of pencils in the world that is rated for you know, artist quality work? Or do I want to start in at, you know, a lesser expensive brand, or the polychromos, the oil based, or the wax based, in like, you know, the Prismacolor? I personally love the Prismacolor, and I have a huge set of those, and I use them a lot. I like the fact that at most retailers I can buy them singly, whereas the Caran d'Ache in Australia I actually can't buy singly, I have to buy the whole set. So I use those sparingly, and I use those for works that I'm going to frame and maybe sell and exhibit. And then my Prismacolor I use in my personal journal work, and I have a set of Spectrum Noir as well, because that particular year I was looking at different types of pencils and they were on a really good special, and so I looked at those, but they're not something that I favour, so I tend to use those a lot more in my workshops, because they then can become a workshop material and I can still use them and people can still get joy out of them. And they, you know, if they've got introducing colour pencils, like on Tuesday when we're going to be looking at layering, you know, using marker to lay your first block colours down for, say, a turtle or different work that you're doing, and then using your colour pencils to add depth and tone over the top. The Spectrum Noirs are really good for that, and I have one that I've used that for, but on the night I'm going to take my Prismacolors and I will use those more myself. So it's really about, in each thing, what paints do you use, buy those paints, use them, enjoy them. But then if you're a student or if you work in a book, you don't necessarily need artist quality paints for that. But if you like really good pigmented paints that have a strong pigment and are light fast, and sometimes you use them for works that you might sell or works that you might exhibit or put on your walls or other people's walls, then it's important to use a really good quality paint for that. But I have a large range of you know, paints for all different types of things that I use, some for pouring, some in flow, some in heavy bodied, because I use them for all different things, and I've built them up over a number of years, and I do use a lot of them a lot. And I actually have, you know, heaps of those, but then I've just donated a whole heap of poster paints that are really good for mono printing and things like that to the art studio where I work, because they will use them before they go off more than I will, and they're a great paint for a specific purpose, but one that I don't use in my general painting life at all, even in my journals, because they're too kind of thin and not heavily pigmented enough. And if I wanted to use them as glazes, that would be really good, but within monoprinting, because of that thin translucent kind of binder that they use in them, they're fabulous for layering lots of different patterns and colours and prints and not making mud. So it's really good for that. But when we're looking at all different types of materials within mixed media, we often have lots of different things that we use, but I would encourage you, if you're starting out on this journey, to find that which you love the most. So do you like to draw? If you like to draw, invest in dry media. If you like watercolour, start with a cheap pan set, have a look and see how they work, and then progress and test things as much as you can before you buy them, because watercolour can be very expensive, and my taste runs to very expensive watercolour like Schminker or Winsor & Newton, and I like them for different types of things. And then if you like painting, think about, well, there's lots of different things. Do I like acrylic? Do I like watercolour and ink? Do I like oils? Do I like, you know, converting pastels into water, that kind of thing? And do I like watercolour pencils? And then have a look at things that cross over those boundaries and work for you within that space. What I find, because I'm a teacher, I need to be, you know, educated in a wide variety of all different things. So everything from soft pastels to oil paints to acrylic paints to watercolours to inks to drawing to pencils to charcoal, and all different, everything in between that I really like. And then collage, different types of papers, ephemera, different types of projects, inks, sprays, stencils, everything to do with those kinds of things, you know, like the different projects that I do that set me apart as a particular teacher within a different team. There are some teachers within my team, that the team I work in, that are drawing specialists, and then there are others that are printing specialists, And so they might do lithographs and different types of prints, whereas I'm kind of a jack of all trades. We have drawing specialists for figure drawing and animation. And then I come in and I can teach most of that. So, but I don't have a specific skill in lithographs. And I would love to do a class in that, and probably will at some point. So I really like that thing where we can really help each other and learn things. I'm currently working on a children's book for my little grandson, and as I've been developing the characters and having a look at positioning them 360 in the round. What do they look like from every angle? What do they look like when they're got their leg up on a bed and they're putting a sock on, or if they're hanging from a tree, or if they're climbing a tree, or if they're running around and playing, or if they're in the house, and what does my kitchens look like, and the background scenes for all of those look like. I have to plan all of those drawings just to be able to do the first children's book, and then select the drawings that I want to use with the text of the story, and then colour it and send it off for printing. And so I got a book on how to write a children's book and what the basic format for the children's book was, because I thought to myself, if I do this really well, I may want to pitch it to a publisher at some point in the future. My first goal is to do a series of 5 to 7 books for my grandchildren, and then I have all the source material there to print, and then I print the copies for them, or for the family, each of the families, that they can use and enjoy those books as their children grow up, and follow the growth of the children as they grow up, and look at things like sharing and caring, and what happens when we have pets, and how we have compassion for people, and what people that look differently and injured look like, maybe people with disabilities, and different diverse groups of people that have different beliefs from us, and different environments from us, different cultures from us, and use a cute suite of farm and wild animals to be able to demonstrate and illustrate those stories while they rhyme. So I love that idea. And so I guess as I'm moving forward, I'm going to be so busy until like September. Now it's just as this is my last free day before that starts, and as it is, I'm off on a lunch date with a friend of mine from uni shortly, and I'll need to get going. But I just wanted to catch up with you all and kind of let you know, whatever your passion is, my passion is art, but I love the therapeutic aspects of art. So I'm following art psychotherapy as a study thing, and then I'm looking at integrative counselling as well, to be able to meld the two, talk counselling and art therapy together, and probably go on and do a master's, and we'll see how that goes, whether that's in education or social work or something like that, to be able to really be an effective therapist and contributing member of society, and look at the kind of work that I can do with the kind of client populations that I really love and engage with. So I think sometimes it takes a while for you to have a look at your passion and find that, and then apply it, and take the risks and the sacrifices that are involved in following that passion. So at any part of your journey that you're at, I encourage you to just really move with that and have a fun time with that, and be dedicated to it, and surround yourself with people that are like-minded. Building your tribe is really important in this aspect. I find that even like some of my friends, they've got social working degrees, or they have a real sense of social justice, and they understand therapeutic language, and so they're fabulous to talk to. I can just talk my talk and they get it. And then I have other friends where I have to really think about the language that I use and the frame of reference that I use when I'm talking about where I'm at the moment, because they are not doing the same kinds of studies that I'm doing, that don't have the same kind of language sets that I have. And being relatable is really important when talking with clients, and then talking with friends, and talking with other maybe multidisciplinary teams and allied health professionals. You have to be able to talk in all of those different circumstances with a particular language that suits the circumstances. So understanding that, but then finding comfort in having my tribe is really important as well. So anyway, I encourage you to just follow your dreams and learn something new today. It keeps you young. I feel younger. Sometimes I feel older and more tired, but I feel younger because my brain is very active and I work hard to be the best that I can at whatever it is that I'm learning at any given point in time. So ciao for now and have a great year, and I will be on here as often as I can. Ciao.